Good evening and welcome to the July 7th, 2025 Governance and Priorities Committee meeting. I now call the meeting to order. Members of Council, there is an agenda before you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Nothing to add.
Okay, Councillor Anderson with the motion, please.
Saw me wave and decided. I'll make the motion that the July 7th, 2025 Governance and Priorities Committee meeting agenda be adopted as presented this evening.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Public input session. This is the time where we allow members of the public to speak to Council about anything that is not on our current agenda. Administration, has anybody registered to speak?
Through the Deputy Mayor, no one has registered.
Is there anyone in Council chambers that would like to speak to Council about anything that is not on our current agenda? Seeing as there's no one, we will proceed with presentations and delegations. This evening we have 3 presentations. First on our agenda is the Tri-Community Adult Learning Association. We welcome you to please come forward for your presentation. I'll just ask that you print your name on the sign-up sheet in front of you and push the button on the base of the mic and speak directly into the microphone.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Barb Scully, and I am here with TriCALA, so Tri-Community Adult Learning Association. Many of you we've met before and we know, but we finally get to give you a session and some information because we haven't been here in a really long time, I don't think. So those of you that aren't aware, TriCALA has been around since 1999, serving the Tri-region, and we work with people that are low literacy, low numeracy, low digital literacy, Canadian newcomers, and we also support the GED, which is called CAKE now. So 48% of Canadian adults are considered to have inadequate literacy skills. 1 in 4 actually can't even fill a prescription or read well enough to do those things and the everyday things. In 2021, Stony Plain had 1,365 foreign-born residents, which is 7.9% of your population. It's really high. Sorry, I got scrambled. Oh, it worked there. It was scrambled before. So we had 294 new learners from July 1st last year till May 16th when we handed this in. 66 of those were from Stony Plain, 88 from Spruce Grove, 64 from Parkland, and 76 were unknown. We do get as far as, we had some from Whitewood just come in for a couple of classes. We've had Onaway in some surrounding areas, but most of the 76 are somewhere within the Tri-region. We ran 211 programs, which is up from when I took over 3 years ago. We were averaging probably 17 or 18 programs then. We did have a large number of programs because we had managed to get a federal grant for 2.5 years, which was digital literacy. So we were able to run things at no cost for all residents in the Tri-region, and we ran hundreds. We had 773 registrations in that time period as well. So we are up to 27 volunteers as of last Friday. We have over 2,000 volunteer hours a year. I have 1 full-time staff, and the rest is all really, we couldn't work without our volunteers. They're amazing. They do one-on-one tutoring. They've taught English as a second language classes. They take people grocery shopping to teach them how to read labels, all different things, and they're pretty amazing, the ones we have. We have a lot of retired teachers right now, which has been nice. They find teaching adults very, very different and a little more rewarding, I think. So, what we've been doing in the last 3 years, we did complete a needs assessment. We worked with Norquest College, and they did one for us and Onaway and Evansburg. We released a report to community showcasing how many programs ran and how many learners were served, as well as some other data you can find on our website. We were a paper organization when I took over, so we've actually digitized over half of it, including building another database so you guys can ask us any questions and we can now pull any data we need about learners. We just received charitable status in June, so that was really good. We're hoping to increase revenue. We've had lots of people offer to donate, but now we can actually give receipts and work on that. And we're creating a bursary program so people could actually pay for people to contribute towards getting their CAKE and their high school equivalency. We just received a 2-year grant from the province of Alberta, and it's for a community ambassador program. The premise of it was that we couldn't give direct services to Canadian newcomers, that we had to build community capacity. So for the next 24 months, we're creating an entire free training piece, and residents can come from all 3 regions and learn how to greet Canadian newcomers, how to learn about your biases and racism and different things that they may be encountering in their own lives, and actually just be that person. It's kind of like the welcome wagon, but for Canadian newcomers. And the goal at the end of the 2 years is actually to give it to the community members to be self-run, and then we'll just support it through some platform and having that information there for them. We've actually had a huge uptake in people wanting their GED. We've seen through the pandemic afterwards, a lot of places won't let you pump gas now without a high school equivalency. We know of one gentleman in his 50s that's been at AHS for 20 years, and he's been told, get your GED or you're done. So they're just making it something they have to have. So we now have full classes going. We find out this week it looks like we will actually be a testing center, and they'll make us mobile. So we can go through any of the libraries throughout Parkland, Stony Plain, and Spruce Grove and offer cake testing now, which hasn't been done in our region. They've always had to go to Edmonton or Whitecourt. So we just finished, I mentioned before, our 3-year grant with the federal government for digital literacies. We've also just finished an updated plan of service that will go to the board in the fall. And we're looking at how to streamline a lot of stuff because a lot of things are redundant and we don't need to do them over and over again. We're trying to build systems in place so we don't have to expand so much with staff because we're not able. And in May, we did relocate to the Spruce Grove Library. The rent for us was much more feasible. We had accessibility issues for some of our people, like their wheelchair accessibility and things like that in Stony Plain, and our rent went down quite a bit. But we worked with all the libraries that will be running out of all the libraries doing programming we need to. Stony Plain, actually, we have classes already booked running there for the fall as well. So our current programs: literacy and essential skills, newcomer supports, the cake we talked about, digital literacy. We do a bit of lifelong learning like Spanish classes. We have one-on-one tutoring as well as some small group tutoring for people, the community ambassador program, and we also sponsor the men's shed as well. They're running independently and they've got their nonprofit now, but we help them with their grants and some of the things they're not used to doing yet. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
I was just going to say, does council have any questions on the presentation? Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for being here for the presentation this evening. 48% inadequate literacy skills as a teacher, that makes my skin crawl that the number is that high, and I think the number was a quarter or 1 out of 4 without those functional literacy skills for day-to-day tasks, and so certainly a lot of work to do. I poked through your website and I wasn't able to find the report to community, but I am interested. Is it there somewhere? And I just
Yes, it is. I just changed the website last week, so I'll find it listed like
all right. Well,
it's there though.
would love to see it. And what I was specifically looking for was the most enrolled type of program. So I know you run literacy, digital literacy, numeracy, so on, job readiness, and that. What do you find is sort of your top program that people are looking for?
English is a second language right now, because to be honest, a lot of people don't know about the literacy piece, and if they do, they're terrified. So we will get people that'll pop in for other things. They might come to, we run some fluffy classes, I call them. They may come to something like that or to a workshop, and then they might come back and they might start talking to us. We've had one learner that has come in 5 or 6 times before he's actually said, by the way, can I be assessed? There's been a bigger uptake. Math has suddenly become an uptake when people are recognizing they don't have those skills, and there doesn't seem to be the imaginary shame around it as much as there is with reading. If people say my math sucks, because like personally, my math sucks. So if people come in, it's not the same as them saying, by the way, I can't read. We are finding people though, when their kids start going to school and some of their kids are in grade 2 or 3 and they can no longer help with their homework, you may get them in, but it is a tougher piece. So the people that are coming in for the cake, they have to do an assessment first. Very few are ready for the cake class. I've only had one go completely through from the minute they came in and were assessed. Everybody else needs tons of tutoring and some workshops. So we're actually running a brush up program starting in September. So Fridays, bring in whatever you want to work on. We're going to have one teacher in the room that you can ask questions to, even if one of us has to Google the answer. We'll figure it out for them, but just to create a safe study space for them to start working on things. But it is the harder push. It's usually now through the cake we're finding. And I don't think that was as big a deal until the push came that you have to have it for everything. And the GED, so cake now, is actually only grade 9. So a lot of people are even terrified to take it because they're like, oh, I never did past grade 10, I'm never gonna get it. It is only a grade 9 level. And the new program is really great. It's got an amazing platform, the content is easier, it's streamlined, it's much better.
Oh, well, that's great to hear, and certainly lots of different touch points there that you spoke to. Sorry, I had one more I had written down. I have to remember where I wrote it. You had mentioned moving to Spruce Grove, and we're certainly sad to see you go. But you did mention as well that you're going to continue to run programs for Stony Plain residents. Curious, do you have existing partnerships here in Stony Plain where some of those programs could be run?
Your library.
I thought
We're
so.
good.
I thought so.
So generally, it's our office that is there. We have one small classroom, but I don't think it does any more, except for the English. It doesn't do any more than either the Parkland's 5 libraries or what we'll be doing with Lena. So as we build capacity, even all our Stony Plain tutors that we're working out of our office have all moved to the library now. So they're not coming to Spruce Grove to tutor their person they're tutoring, their student, they're all doing it at Stony Plain.
Perfect. And I know they had some digital literacy programs and stuff at the library as well, and so a very great opportunity for that collaboration. I do have one final question, if I could. We saw new learners in your report this evening, and we saw the total number of registrations.
Yeah.
Just looking maybe for the total number of touch points with individuals. So how many individuals?
So the new learners, all are unique learners.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
so those are unique learners. So I took over 3 years ago, those of you who don't know. It had a lot of different mandates, a lot of different goals. We wanted to get into community as much as possible. Out of those 200 learners, half are probably through the digital literacy program. It had a huge uptake, especially with seniors getting one-on-one tutoring, but we're still sitting with about 120 people that are doing either English as additional language, literacy, numeracy, or digital.
okay.
So, yeah.
Well, a tremendously vital role that your organization plays, and certainly appreciate the work that you're doing and all of your volunteers to help move literacy forward in our community. So thank you for all you do, and thanks for being here this evening.
Councillor Hansard?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, you for being here to talk to us about your program as in addition to what was presented for our packages. I also appreciated that it certainly seemed to me that you were giving us information that we didn't read to get ready for this evening. On page 12 of our package, and I don't know which page you have in your report, but it's what we've been doing. That whole section, I lingered on that for a little bit because I think that says a lot about what your organization does, the tangible, where the rubber meets the road. And I just wondered when you mention here, you relocated to Spruce Grove Public Library due to rising rent costs, and you're still at the library, you're operating from that library?
Yeah, we just moved in April to the Spruce
Oh,
Grove
so it's-
Library. So yeah,
it's
our main
recent.
office is there, and we have one small room for classroom space there, and then we also work out of Stony Plain, our tutors work out of, and the 5 Parkland libraries.
Somehow I got the feeling in reading through this that you were looking for a bigger space. Did I misread something?
No, for us, it was a lot about rent and also accessibilities. The space we were in wasn't wheelchair accessible per se, like the washrooms weren't. It was next to Silent River Kung Fu, and Jeff was amazing to us, don't get me wrong, but it was set up originally as a tanning salon, so there were no lights in the back. We were running off lamps. If we had someone in a wheelchair and needed to use our washroom, we literally have to move a class because you can't close the door. It just didn't work anymore, and then he also had to increase the rent because of his rising costs, so we get a reduced rent at the library.
Okay. And it seems to me from previous reports that you've brought to our council that you're growing in many aspects, the number of programs, the number of volunteers, what you're doing. I appreciate that you're operating in all three communities that support you. That means a lot. And I wish you the best as you go forward, but thank you for answering that question.
Councillor Hansard.
Mayor Choi?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for the presentation, and definitely appreciate hearing the updates and the work that Tri-Cala does in our community. I just wanted, if you can expand a little bit more in terms of the digital literacy. I know there's a lot of scams going there that target seniors, and I think you mentioned half the people that are doing that are seniors. So want to just explain on that a little bit?
The one thing that was great with the digital literacy grant was that we could offer one-on-one. We had employed, I think there was 15 facilitators we could actually pay. People, whether they're seniors or not, want the one-on-one. It's not feasible to really offer one-on-one sessions when we don't have additional funding for that, and then it really needs to be that federal pocket that comes in and does it. We'll watch for more funding or through private, but we are running things. We have a lot of popularity before in the seniors come to use their iPhones or their Androids. Phones has been a big thing, teaching them everything about how to be safe. We do a lot of cybersecurity with them, and a lot of how not to get scammed has been very popular. And we run that one continuously no matter what. Even if only 2 people show up, we continue with it. So yeah, we do have still more classes coming up, but we won't have the one-on-ones that we had for the 2.5 years.
Okay, thank you for that too. And I just want to make a comment there. I think one of the programs that Tri-Cala is involved in is the Men's Shed. And I believe Doug was at the Love Letters to Men and made a good presentation in terms of the project and kind of the scope that is trying to envision and try to get men together. So I just want to make sure that literacy doesn't just mean reading and writing. It's also literacy in terms of a hobby, of be able to look after your fellow members, of understanding to be able to read them to see if they need help and assistance as well. So I definitely appreciate Tri-Cala taking Men's Shed under their wing when Doug was here looking for a place and looking for some support. You were there, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comment? Okay, thank you so much.
Perfect, thanks so
Appreciate it.
much.
The next presentation this evening is the Parkland Food Bank. We welcome you to come up to the front. And as mentioned, sign your name if you can, and look at you go. And proceed whenever you are ready.
Well, good evening, Deputy Mayor Lyon and members of the council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this evening. My name is Sherry Ratzo. I'm the Executive Director of Parkland Food Bank. And I recognize that your time is valuable, so we'll try and go through this quickly, even though it was a big presentation. So firstly, I'd like to acknowledge a significant milestone. 2025 marked Parkland Food Bank's 40th anniversary, serving the communities of Stony Plain, Spruce Grove, and Parkland County. 40 years ago, a small group recognized a need and took a leap of faith to help their neighbors. 28 years ago, another visionary group worked to build one of Alberta's first purpose-built food bank facilities. While our current facility may now show its limitations, it has supported hundreds of thousands of individuals in moments of hardship, all thanks to that original vision. So this year, the Board of Directors focused on building on solid structural foundation, so revamping our bylaws, improving governance, formalizing onboarding, and strengthening continuing education. We developed clear, transparent policies and procedures to bring consistency and clarity to all that we do. Recognizing the urgent need for expanded space, we established a capital fundraising and building committees as we begin the exciting journey towards securing new land and a facility so that we continue to meet the growing needs of the tri-region community. August 1985, for those of us old enough to remember back then. July was an extremely busy month for the East Parkland Food Bank. Our statistics show that we filled 18 hampers for needy families, providing assistance for 75 people. We certainly are fulfilling a need in our community. Oh, how times have changed. Throughout our history, we've often operated on the edge, unsure if we could continue. Halfway through the year 1990, we were at risk of being flat broke by the end of the year if donations didn't pick up. That resilience continues to define our approach of feeding people no matter what. A key strategic focus in 2024 was building a strong, motivated workforce of both staff and volunteers. We've recruited a skilled and diverse board of directors and are proud of our exceptional staff team who are equipped and committed to leading a growing volunteer workforce to meet our regional needs. And volunteers are at the heart of our mission, turning compassion into action. In 2024, we were supported by 278 active volunteers, including 116 first-time volunteers. Together, they contributed over 20,409 hours, a 10% increase over 2023. Thanks to community support, we deliver food through several programs. So we have our monthly hamper program, so 1 hamper per household per month with essential food and household supplies. Our delivery program, so 495 hampers were delivered in 2024 to individuals with barriers to accessing the food bank. We have our top-up hamper program, where extra perishable items help thousands stretch their food. Our H2 hamper program, designed for clients without access to refrigeration or cooking, and includes ready-to-eat foods. So with all those hamper programs in 2024, we supported 2,034 unique households, representing 5,634 individuals, with a total of 31,945 visits across our hamper programs. We also operate a food hub, redistributing surplus produce to local food banks, churches, and community agencies, maximizing impact and reducing waste. In 2024, we distributed 9,707 monthly hampers, and the key items in those include our pantry items, so it was just over $1 million worth of pantry items, $350,000 worth of meat, $80,000 worth of eggs, $67,000 in milk, and we also include fresh produce, bread, pastries, frozen goods, paper products, household supplies, baby products, gluten-free, and dairy-specific hampers as needed. In 2024, we distributed 2,233 top-up hampers, providing specialty breads, cooler and freezer items, fresh produce, baby products, and feminine hygiene products. We distributed 591 H2 hampers. These are compact, ready-to-eat food packs designed for clients without access to cooking facilities. They're available weekly and fit into a backpack. And then we have our food hub. So in 2024, Parkland Food Bank's Food Hub supported 9 partner agencies providing essential food items to a range of community programs and services. This initiative not only ensures that surplus food is put to highest use, but also offers alternate access points to food, reducing strain on the main food bank and empowering other local organizations. So the food distributed through our food hub to other food banks was 16,000 kilograms, other agencies almost 11,000 kilograms, and churches was over 3,000 kilograms. So the core of what we do, who we serve. Just a few definitions. So a household in our purpose is a family unit or group. An individual is a single person receiving support. Unique, we're counting only once. Duplicate, we're counting each visit. And so in 2024, the food bank served 519 unique households from the town of Stony Plain, which made up 2,967 duplicate household visits. That represented 1,488 unique individuals for a duplicate visit count of 8,066 individual visits from Stony Plain residents. That was 26% of the households using Parkland Food Bank last year were from the town of Stony Plain and equaled 8% of the town's population. In the last 5 years, we've supported 2,335 unique individuals from the town of Stony Plain, adding up to 32,568 duplicate individuals from town residents. Our data shows the ongoing struggle of working households. Clients citing employment as their primary income increased from 28% in 2023 to 29% in 2024. Of those employed, 18% worked full-time. For the first time ever, full-time employment outpaced disability and income support as the primary income source among our clients. This highlights the need for ongoing advocacy around fair wages and stable employment opportunities. So in 2024, 48% of our clients were adults, 40% were seniors, and 40% were children, and 11% were seniors. 66% of our households rent their home, 24% own their home, and 5% live with family or friends. 53% of clients were female, 46% male, and 69% of our households were single adult households, showing the vulnerability of individuals living alone. So that's either just a single person or a single parent raising a family. Oh, did I skip a screen somewhere? That's okay. Now we're just jumped ahead. I like our superheroes picture on this one. So thank you once again to our incredible Stony Plain superheroes, raising $3,560 in 2024 and $2,210 in 2025. All right, now we're all lined up again. So over the past 3 years, we've seen a steady decline in the total weight of food donations, reflecting broader economic pressures. So in 2022, we had just under 150,000 kilograms of food donated, valued at $2.4 million. 2023, that went down to 144,000 kilograms at $2.1 million. And 2024 was 132,000 kilograms, valued at $2.8 million. So while the total volume of food donations has decreased, the value of those donations rose sharply. This reflects the growing impact of inflation. Donors are spending more, but we're receiving less food in return. This trend is deeply concerning and highlights the urgent need for continuing community support, innovative approaches to food sourcing, and collaborative strategies to address the rising cost of food and increased demand in our region. In 2024, an incredible 1,167 community events, fundraisers, and business donations were held in support of the food bank. And to wrap us up, just a quick look at comparing the beginning of 2025 to 2024. So food donated, we've actually seen a 10% increase this year. I was a little backwards in writing our food purchase. That's supposed to be for 2025, 41,142 kilograms purchased. So it's a 4% decrease in food purchased. And individuals fed, we've seen a 5% increase over 2024. A couple of our key strategic initiatives for the year. We have set aside $1.2 million for a land purchase sometime in 2025. We're working more on our highly skilled and motivated workforce, comprised of volunteers, board members, and staff, and we're building more awareness and community presence to ensure we can continue to meet the needs of your residents. And with that, thank you guys so much, and I'm ready for any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And any questions from council? Councillor Anderson?
I don't know where to start. 8% of Stony Plain residents accessing the hamper program. Some of the other stats that I don't need to repeat them, but absolutely devastating to hear the actual numbers. I think we know that there's a need. We know that the food bank plays a valuable role, but when you quantify that with numbers and percentages, very, very eye-opening. There's a couple that stood out, and I'll maybe pick your brain a little bit. One specifically that stood out to me was the H2 hampers. When did that program start?
Well, I think the first year that it's on there was actually its first year, so I want to say 2021. No, we did have it before 2021.
But around that.
2019?
Okay. Certainly a significant increase since 2021, even almost 4 times. You did mention that this one, I believe, was once a week.
Yes.
Was there a change there that maybe led to the 591 packages being distributed? Or if you can maybe help me understand why we're seeing a sort of a 4-fold increase over the last few years with the H2 hampers?
So the H2 program has always been a weekly program, so that part hasn't changed. Definitely an increase due to just a higher homeless population in the region, combined with more awareness about the program for people to know that they can come access. We've also seen the program expand just from homelessness to people with either disabilities or lower cognitive abilities for cooking. So we do have a fair number of people accessing that program that don't know how to cook or don't have those capabilities, so they're using that program so they have the ready-to-eat food versus us giving them ground beef or rice that they wouldn't be able to utilize.
Okay. And you sort of touched on my next question around the H2 hampers in particular, and so increased number of unsheltered and then the increased awareness, which one not so good, the other one good, right? Increased number, obviously not what we would hope for, but awareness of supports available in the community is a very, very important thing. It's one thing to offer, but if people aren't aware, they're not able to utilize that service offering. A couple comments, if you wouldn't mind, and this is more, and you can decline the question as well, that's totally okay.
I can plead the fifth?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
And to be honest, we're at page 28, and you had alluded to disability being second for the first time in a while in terms of the population served, which surprised me a little bit with some of the information coming out from the government of Alberta and the province, or sorry, the government of Canada and the government of Alberta in terms of the Canada Disability Top-Up, and now the province sort of balancing that with a reduction in AISH benefits. And so wondering what you're hearing from the clients that you serve around that shift in what was expected to be an addition in a high inflation environment. Now they're going to see that fixed income continue the way that it's been for a while. So what are you hearing from?
We haven't heard a lot yet from our clients on that. I don't know if word has spread quite so much, or it's just another time where, the system's working against them and there's not much they can do about it, really. They can complain, but there's nothing we can do about it either. So I think all of them have increased. I think the shocking part is just the working is such an unusual client base for us, working full-time and still needing to access the food bank. It's more expected with people on disability than working full-time. But yeah, I haven't heard a lot of comments from clients yet about the unhappiness of us being the only province clawing back a portion of that federal disability income.
Yeah, and the challenge that will present, and it'll be interesting. I think July is when that was supposed to come into force, and so how that impacts this segment of our community remains to be seen. I will say, though, you had mentioned there's not a lot that we can do. Certainly that is true, but we can always advocate back to our provincial colleagues, and I think that's a piece that whether it's it's yourself, your volunteers, your staff, us here at the council table, or community members, there's an opportunity there for advocacy.
Always.
And I think that's an important piece to remember. I do have one final question, if I may, Deputy Mayor, and that you sort of snuck it in on the last slide, and you sort of briefly mentioned that in your wrap up there, and that's related to a land purchase. And so I don't want to dig, but I do want to ask if there's anything there that you can share with us about what that might.
We will shortly have some information, more detail on that.
All right.
You got to be patient just a little while longer.
Well, it was a little bit of a sneak peek, a little tidbit for us to hold on to, but hopefully some exciting things coming down the pipe. Now, just briefly, is there a sort of a capital campaign there where you're going to be looking for donations in that amount, or is this something you've have some money that's been set aside already? Where is this money coming?
The land purchase is coming from our existing funds. We've been diligently saving up for this moment, and then we'll be launching the capital campaign for the building, where we'll be
All right.
out with our purses open.
Got a little bit more information, so I appreciate that. I was going to see what we can get, but certainly, from a grateful community, I've shared at this table before that my family was one growing up, a single-parent home that accessed the food bank, the Parkland Food Bank. It wasn't called that at the time, but throughout my childhood and continue to as a teacher see families that use that as a critical service. And so we are truly, truly grateful, I know as council, but from a community that appreciates all that you do. I did forget one question, so I apologize. It should be a quick one. I saw a little glimpse about a corporate challenge for the food bank coming up in August, and I didn't see it in the presentation. So my apologies, Deputy Mayor, but if you could sort of plug the corporate challenge just very briefly.
Well, so far, this is an opportunity for Stony Plain Council to take a lead and get an advantage over Spruce Grove and Parkland County, because you're the first municipality to sign up for our corporate challenge. Stony Plain, Parkland County, and Spruce Grove all participated last year, just a way for us to get some focused food donations. Summertime food donations drop dramatically for Parkland Food Bank. Client usage does not. So this is a great way to support the food bank, make sure that we're ready. Back to school, September is almost as busy for the food bank as Christmas is, but we go into it with no food reserves. So this is an opportunity for us to go into September ready to help those families as they're taking on those extra September costs. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think if I remember correctly, Stony Plain last year walked away with some bragging rights at the end of the corporate challenge.
You sure did. You had a lot of cereal.
There you go. So there's the call out to our staff and our residents, but we really look forward to participating again this year in a meaningful way, and again want to thank you and your team for all that you do.
Thanks.
Mayor Choi?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. Definitely always enjoy having you come to council and present. And I think Councillor Anderson kind of squeezed a little bit about the building, so I'm not going to ask any questions about that, so I'll cross it off my list. But I do have a thank you, definitely thank you for you and your team for making it more accessible for Stony Plain residents with the food delivery, and then also in partnering with hubs within town Stony Plain where residents that do not have access to a vehicle be able to pick them up without making the trip back into Spruce Grove. So thank you, and if we can be any assistance in expanding that program, definitely let us know, because I think that is definitely a need in our community, and we'll try to assist you where we can.
Yeah. This region is a very large region that we have to get around, so anytime we have an opportunity to expand our reach, we are more than happy to grab it.
That's good. In your presentation, you mentioned that you have 9 partner agencies. Definitely, the town of Stony Plain is more than happy to support many agencies that provide those the needs in our community. Can you list those 9 partners so that when we do come across them, we can actually thank them as well, and then also for those
You're
partnerships?
gonna test me? Oh my goodness. So we support 2 food banks, so the Lac-Saint-Anne Food Bank and the Enoch Food Bank. And help them with some of our overflow. Alberta Parenting for the Future, which runs out of Stony Plain. The Lighthouse Church has a program that we help support. Grace's Table out of Spruce Grove. And how many was that?
That's 5.
I'm missing some. Food for the Soul. Nope, that's the Lighthouse Church.
Lighthouse.
I'll get back to you on that.
Well, definitely appreciate that, because I think as you list those community partners, we too support those agencies as well. So we'll make sure that there's a lot of synergies between our groups working together. I think the more that we work together and able to kind of sew those threads together and mend them together, the stronger our community will be. So definitely, wherever we can assist you, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you. And in terms of, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. In terms of the new building that will be coming, hopefully soon, a little while ago, you and your team made a presentation to our councils. So are we still looking at a similar concept, or is that concept changed? Because we haven't been updated on that yet.
So now that we are a little more focused on what kind of land that we're going to be building on, we can then actually look at creating some more definition around the design. Before, it was difficult when you don't know what kind of land you're going to be building on, what kind of access points, really hard to design a building. So now that we have more information, but it's going to be similar concept, that Stantec report that you're referring to with that initial design. I mean, it was just a really loose design looking at what kind of facility would it take to process enough food to provide this many hampers a year. So the square footage in that report is still accurate and is still going to be much the basis of what we design.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Choi. Councillor Laurie?
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Sherry, for the presentation today. Yeah, I had two of my questions that got poached. What's going on?
You got to get faster with the hand.
So one question I do have that hasn't been touched as of yet is we talked many years ago actually about accessibility and about the transit system. And so thankfully over the last several years we've been able to expand the transit system, we've expanded hours of service, but we know it's still not fully encompassing. I'm just wondering if you can give a bit of a perspective from the food bank and the food bank's clientele as to how the transit system is working for them and whether you see any gaps.
Yeah, the rider on-demand busing definitely assists not only our clients, but we have several volunteers that actually utilize that service for coming to do their volunteer work at the food bank. As far as for clients, I think that's any transit problem. When you're talking larger amounts of food, it can be difficult. So our single household or single person households, they can easily get on the on-demand bus with a single person's amount of food with their several bags. If you get any larger than that, that's a lot of food to try and lug onto a bus and then get from the bus back to your house. And so what we're seeing a lot of is clients choosing to utilize the bus service to get to the food bank, but then they would contact a ride or use a cab service to get from the food bank to their house with their larger quantity of food instead of trying to figure out how to take that on a bus.
Excellent, thank you very much. And then one thing that wasn't touched on, we touched on the corporate challenge, but I see you have a summer of food drives as well. And it looks like it kicks off tomorrow right here in Stony Plain at our local Safeway. So did you want to plug that a little bit as well?
Absolutely. We were privileged enough to get funding for 3 summer students this year. And so we have them busy working all summer long on different food drives. They were at the city center event on Saturday. They're kicking off the first grocery store food drive tomorrow at Safeway in Stony Plain. So they'll be collecting food there from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m.
Excellent, and it looks like almost every Friday throughout the summer they're at a different grocery store throughout the region. So
we're lucky. We have a lot of grocery stores. We're excited about the rumored one coming in a few years, but we'll need a bigger facility for the food that'll be coming from that one. It's a race now.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Hansard, yourself?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So Ms. Ratsoy, it's always a pleasure to have you in council chambers. We love hearing about the wonderful work that's being done by all the volunteers at the Parkland Food Bank, and I know that we also have an opportunity from time to time to volunteer ourselves and go experience that. It's truly an eye-opener, the way you feel when you help somebody to leave with their food bank and you've helped to assemble it. Other minds greater than me have to worry about how they get it. I just do what I'm told when I have gone there. I was curious as I'm reading this, because I know people in general often donate items, you have a list of dollar value of core monthly hamper items provided in 2024. Do you take all the goods that come in, put a dollar value on that, and then come up with these numbers? Or are these numbers in addition to the miscellaneous and sundry things that people all over donate? For instance, you say the pantry items, so that's non-refrigerated, $1,015,000 plus dollars in value. That is the goods that people have provided, right? Or is that in addition to?
No, so the items that have a dollar value listed, those were what we consider our core food items for our hamper program. And so those are food areas that if we don't get enough food donated, we're actually going to purchase to make sure that we have a consistent amount of food. So consistent eggs, consistent milk, consistent meat, and then core pantry items. So those are actually the dollar value of either what we've purchased or what's been donated and we've supplemented with purchasing on those particular items. Overall though, because that doesn't include all of the food that we receive. So in our budget, you would see that we have in-kind food donations at $3.8 million. That would just be a general value created by Food Banks Canada and Nelson Group, Research Group, and they come up with just a general per kilogram. So overall, our donated items are just that general per kilogram rate, but those specific items for our monthly hamper, that would be the actual dollar value for those food items.
Okay, and if I may, Madam Deputy Mayor, just to finish that off so that the public that live streams this or is watching this evening, and even those here in council chambers, $1,015,000 in pantry items, $350,500 in meat, $80,500 in eggs, and $67,000 in milk.
Yes.
I'm amazed. I stand amazed at the volume of food and the wise choices around this that help families. And I have personally known a number of families that have accessed the food bank, and I simply wanted to say, most of them will say, I don't get everything I need for my family of 4 for a month. And I go once a month. Is that correct?
Twice a month. So
Twice a
once they
month.
can do the monthly hamper, and then once they can do the top-up hamper for the
Okay.
perishables.
So between the 2 trips to the food bank, they will say they don't get everything they need, but it is the basic that allows them to know they can provide a meal for their children. Parents still have a tendency to cut back on what they eat so that there's food that remains that they can provide for their kids after. We live in a wonderful country, and we know that times can be difficult on people. But when you realize an organization like this comes together to tremendous amount of work to gather, to store, to distribute, and to collect donations, to be able to do this, I can't commend you and your organization enough, so thank you very much.
I think that's been the single most frustrating part of our lack of space the last years is we couldn't expand any of that program just because of space. We can't double the amount of milk that we give because we have no space, right? We had the money, we had no space. There's only so much you can put in a cooler. There's only so much you can put in a warehouse. And that's been probably the hardest part and the most frustrating part of outgrowing our area.
Awesome. Well, seeing as there's no more questions, I'd like to thank you for coming. And, oh, I lied. Councillor Palachko?
He doesn't want to be left out.
You just needed to look a little further down, but thanks anyway. Thank you very much for coming, Sherry. We always appreciate the updates. I want to highlight a little bit of what Councilor Laurie was talking about because first off, I want to know if you could speak to how people volunteer at the food bank. How do you get involved in the food bank?
Oh.
What can you do to be involved in it?
Speaking of plugs, anybody who wants to volunteer at Parkland Food Bank can go to our website, parklandfoodbank.org, and get involved, volunteer. There's a volunteer application form where our lovely Miss Amanda receives the application. She'll contact the prospective volunteer, do a quick phone screen, have the prospective volunteer come in for a tour, because what people think volunteering at the food bank is like is very different than what it is actually like. So we have the individual come in for a tour. We want to make sure it's a right fit, that we're putting them in a position and a job that they're comfortable in. So once we know it's a right fit, and we'll see what their schedule is and see what our openings are, we will get them in depending on how often they can. So some of our volunteers are 2-3 times a week. They're in helping out, and some volunteers are once or twice a month because they're working and they're contributing their time where they can.
Thank you. If I could, one more. So I want to talk a little bit about your food campaign that you have coming up. Being on another club in the community, we've volunteered as a club to represent one of them days at one of the local grocery stores. Has all of your positions been filled for volunteer groups? Is there room for more volunteer groups to be able to do similar? And how would they get involved if that was a...
Again, that would be through Amanda, so you can do volunteer at parklandfoodbank.org, any group that wants to get involved. I do believe we still have some opportunities for groups, and then we do throughout the year have some corporate volunteer opportunities as well, or group opportunities. They are a little limited because we only have so much room for people, so another area we're hoping to grow. But I do believe, yes, anybody can get a hold of us at the food bank if they're a user group that has some time over the summer on a Friday particular, because I think that's when all the food drives are happening, to give even a couple hours and help out our summer students collecting food.
Thank you for that.
Councillor Anderson?
Thank you. I'm sorry, but you're here, and I just
Well,
have
you know,
so many
it's your
questions.
time, so.
Well, I don't mind. As long as you don't mind, I do have a couple more questions. We talked about all the initiatives that are coming up. You used to have, and maybe I'm just missing it on your website, the link for what we need now, like what we're short of, sort of priority items. I find key items that make up food hampers, but as we kick off tomorrow at Safeway, and as we look at the corporate challenge, what are sort of the items that are in need at this moment?
All of them.
All of them. All right, there you go. That makes it easy.
What we tell people, so when you go to a food drive, you'll get a list of key food items that we're looking for that particular day. So if you go to Safeway tomorrow, you'll get a food list as you go in. But typically we tell people, whatever your family is eating that's healthy food ingredients, most families are eating. So if you can find, especially with inflation right now, you know, if it's a buy one, get one free and you're only going to eat one, donate the other one. If it's on sale, that's a great opportunity to grab it. The biggest piece of context we want to put around food donations is just thinking more raw ingredients versus processed food. So less Kraft Dinner, more just pasta and tomato sauce. There's a lot more versatility for families, a lot more nutritional quality, and your donation dollar will go further.
Perfect. And I do have one more question, and that's specific to the birthday bags. Now, I was introduced to this by, I think, a post on your site where somebody had dropped them off. But I work with a very generous group of students at one of our local schools that I feel like this might be an initiative they would like to be involved in. And so just a couple of quick thoughts on your birthday bags. How many do you distribute in a month? Is the need currently being met? And is there an opportunity there for a group of stellar kiddos to get involved?
So our birthday bags, for anybody who doesn't know, we have gift bags ready for anybody who has a child having a birthday upcoming, and it's a birthday party in a bag. So it's a cake mix, it's an icing, it's candles, it's decorations, party favors, all in a bag ready to go so the families can have a child for their birthday party for their child 6 and under. I never want to say no to a group that wants to do something fun, but we have actually had a large church organization take it on, and I think right now we have about 2 years worth of birthday bags on supply. So if we had a choice between food donations and birthday bag donations, if you could come up with maybe some meal kits as a nice kit versus a birthday bag for this year, that would be really wonderful.
No, and that's why we ask the question, and they do get involved, especially around the holidays, with collecting for the Christmas hamper, food distribution, and that sort of thing. So, thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, looking around the table, one.
Are we sure?
Everybody good?
The library would like to go home tonight.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sherry.
You're welcome.
I can't say that. And so our final presentation this evening will be from our Stony Plain Public Library. We welcome you to come forward, and as mentioned before, please print your name on the sign-in sheet, push the button on the base of the microphone, and speak directly into it. She'll talk first.
Well, good evening, Deputy Mayor Lawrence, okay, and Mayor Choi, and the rest of council. Can you hear me better now? Okay, good. All right, good evening, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to provide you with our annual update. I'm Brenda Spitzer, the chair of the Stony Plain Public Library, and on the far right is Don Horn, who is our treasurer, and beside me is Director Lena Kelly. In your council package, you'll find our 2024 annual report to the public, sharing some highlights from the past year. Copies are also available at the library and on our website. In the next few slides, we will highlight a few things from this report and also dive into some information not mentioned, but of interest to council.
2025 has been a busy year so far, with unique programs and events each month to celebrate our 80th birthday. These programs were strategically chosen to not only meet community needs, but also to further our plan of service while celebrating along the way. In the next few slides, we'll review some ways we are working to meet the goals of our plan of service.
In our report to you today, we wanted to highlight our expert staff at Stony Plain Public Library. Last year, we had significant staffing changes, and we have worked to grow together as a cohesive team. We welcomed a new director and experienced turnover in both library assistant and student library assistant positions. We've been able to recruit and train an excellent team. We've received feedback from patrons that they love our high quality and engaging programs and our helpful staff. The town has provided us with feedback that they appreciate how staff are navigating incidents and consistently applying policy developed by the board and administration. We are proud to continue to offer high-quality library services to the residents of Stony Plain, and proud to continue to improve conditions for staff, helping us achieve our plan of service goal of being an excellent place to work. Last year, the board completed an organizational review with Dr. Margaret Law. This review has been invaluable in focusing our work and allowing us to make significant changes to improve services, governance, and our employment environment. You may have seen some physical changes to the library, such as our new railing and safety updates to the train, completed thanks to the Special Projects team with Public Works. The board has worked hard to update policies and take on governance projects, such as a compensation review, which was suggested by Dr. Law's report. Administration has worked on HR processes to streamline work and make sure we are using staff time as wisely as possible to improve library services, access, and programs. Work will continue through 2025 and 2026 on implementing the recommendations of the organizational review.
Today, I'd like to share some of the exciting programs we offered in 2024 and how we're strengthening relationships with our community partners. Last year, we received a $5,000 grant from the Public Library Services branch to deliver digital literacy training in partnership with Tricala. From October to March, Tricala instructors offered weekly technology programs for seniors, job seekers, and newcomers, covering everything from social media to cybersecurity. Participants could also book follow-up one-on-one tech help sessions with library staff. One standout program was on website building using Wix, which was popular among small business owners, which surprised us all. This successful partnership with Tricala will continue into 2025 and 2026, even as they relocate to Spruce Grove, helping us foster lifelong learning in our community. We also joined with the Tri-Region Libraries to host a library crawl for newcomers who visited Spruce Grove, Stony Plain, and Keep Hills. At each stop, they enjoyed Canadian snacks, games, gift bags, and welcoming presentations, including one by local RCMP at our branch. This event was part of the National Week of Welcome celebrated across Canada. To better serve working families, we launched Saturday Family Story Times in the fall. Attendance has steadily grown, and we're now seeing many families return regularly for weekend programming, including our past month of June, where we had story times with superheroes and princesses. Very popular. We've also built a strong relationship with the Youth Centre. Library assistants visit weekly for outreach, and Youth Centre participants have begun using our space, especially for movie screenings, thanks to our public performance license purchased through Yellowhead Regional Library. This partnership is growing and has been a highlight for both staff and teens. Finally, our summer reading program continues to thrive. Last year, 150 kids joined in, reading all summer and attending 55 programs. We partnered with downtown businesses for a story walk and scavenger hunt, which drew over 600 participants. This year, we're expanding by adding a teen scavenger hunt in collaboration with the Youth Centre.
In 2024, there were some obstacles thrown our way. We had some lengthy position vacancies that resulted in onboarding many new positions. As well, staff duties and positions shifted to reflect the recommendations in the organizational review. Staff spent the year either onboarding and training or learning new skills for the new expectations of their positions. We also had some turnover on the board, and a number of trustees were welcomed over the course of the year. We've implemented many changes to our governance and board meetings that have helped meetings run smoothly and help new trustees feel welcome and prepared to make governance decisions. And finally, we did a thorough evaluation of our programs offered and decided to make some changes in order to better serve our community. This included increasing programs for preschoolers, teens, and newcomers to Canada, which have helped diversify the groups served by our programs, and ending some programs that no longer fit our mandate or community needs.
As you can see from this slide, we have been able to maintain a steady level of services with some small fluctuations. One thing we did want to point out to Council was that you'll see a discrepancy in the number of visits from 2023. The numbers we presented to you last year were overinflated, and this was due to a fact that our people counter at our front door had made a calculation error. But the numbers you see here are corrected and accurate, and we have recently replaced our people counter with a newer model. And we look forward to receiving more granular statistics to help us with hours of service and scheduling decisions. In 2024, we maintained some key services highly valued by our community. While our meeting room rentals have dropped, we are receiving longer bookings and also using the room more frequently for in-house meetings and programs. We've also hosted several town programs from various departments in our space, providing opportunities for residents to attend workshops and seminars on topics such as transit and financial education offered by the town. We aren't always able to accommodate scheduled and requested bookings, and this service remains in demand, especially on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. Our exam service remains popular, with students from both Stony Plain and neighboring communities making use of our invigilation services, including our exam laptops and study rooms, to take online exams for remote learning courses, and especially through the University of Athabasca. Our program attendance dipped slightly as we stopped taking on school classroom tours last fall. The library has pivoted to offering more outreach services, including visiting schools. This has allowed us to reach students in schools that are further away and weren't able to take a walking field trip to the library. We're also trying to balance program offerings with staff capacity to attend outreach events and work with our community partners.
We're hoping to have an even more successful year in 2025. So far, our stats have been trending upwards, even prior to our busy summer season. In the first 5 months of 2025, our library had 43,703 visits to use our services. We're well on track to reach over 100,000 visits this year. Patrons checked out or renewed 92,423 items. This number includes items from our own collection and holds brought in through track. We anticipate that this number will exceed 220,000 for 2025. Lots of numbers there. We've also been busy both in the library and in the community, completing 351 outreach and in-library programs and reaching 6,484 people. So we're well on our way to exceed last year's attendance of 7,623. We thought we'd add some further updates to this slide that have come in during the last week. Our summer is off to a great start. On Canada Day, we opened for 4 hours to a lineup of waiting patrons. Patrons visited our library for washroom access and as a spot to cool off, and we provided visitors with fun crafts and activities. Staff reported that we had many first-time visitors to Stony Plain from places like Edmonton, St. Albert, and Leduc. Thanks to our cultural ambassador training on our PD Day, staff promoted local events and businesses and handed out destination guides. In a 4-hour period, we had 215 visitors. On regular Tuesdays for the past 3 weeks, our average has been 345 visits over 10 hours. Finally, our summer reading program is off to a really strong start. Our programmer, Laura, was able to visit all the schools and many daycares in Stony Plain, and we've had over 800 kids and teens sign up already for the Summer Reading Club, and over 500 sign-ups are residents of Stony Plain. This is thanks to Laura's hard work promoting the program and getting the kids excited about visiting the library this summer.
I always like to share with council a story that highlights the impact our library has had on our residents here. So I'd like to share the story with you of David, Deanna, and their kids. So after moving to Stony Plain from Columbia, David, Deanna, and their children quickly became familiar faces at the library. Prior to starting kindergarten last fall, their son, Jose, could often be found in the library playing in our children's area and attending programs. Deanna, a former ESL teacher, soon began hosting an evening ESL conversation at the library in partnership with Tricala, bringing warmth, enthusiasm, and new learners through our door. The family even took part in our summer reading program last summer, and to their delight, won the grand prize, passes to the TELUS World of Science. This spring, David and Deanna reached out wanting to give back to the library. This summer, Deanna is teaching Spanish to teens at the library, and David is leading an eco-robotics program for kids ages 11 and up. Their story is a beautiful example of our library's mission, connecting people, culture, and ideas. We're proud to be a welcoming space where community members feel inspired to give back and grow together.
Our implementation of Dr. Margaret Law's organizational review continues. Through 2024 and 2025, we have worked on improving staff and patron safety with a focus on occupational health and safety. This has resulted in improvements to both our physical space and the policies that guide our work, especially when it comes to the safety and security of patrons. Staff and administration are confidently handling the dynamic work of a public library. Finally, we are streamlining our human resources processes with the help of a consulting firm, ensuring that the Stony Plain Public Library is a great place to work and showing staff that we value them as our greatest asset. When we last presented to Council in October of 2024, we let you know the various ways we were going to continue to support the goals of the town's strategic plan. With the funding increase from Council last year, we've been able to already make some headway in this area. We'd like to share a few ways our work has aligned with your strategic plan. Through 2025, we've been celebrating the library's 80th anniversary with a variety of events celebrating the culture and history of the library and the town. So far, we've had local choir performances, poetry cafes, and a successful birthday party bringing together community members from around the Tri-Region area. Coming up, we'll have an indoor mural tours with Greg Hanna, a fair highlighting local authors, and other performances celebrating the diverse cultures that make up Stony Plain's past and present. We are also collaborating with Blueberry Music Festival and the town's Department of Culture and Tourism to bring music into the library throughout the summer and the fall. At our last PD day, staff received cultural ambassador training from the town, ensuring that they are able to suggest local businesses, attractions, and events to curious patrons. This is a great learning opportunity for all about the variety of experiences available in Stony Plain, even for staff who have lived here for many years.
This year, we became a fine-free library, a change that's been warmly received and has strengthened our commitment to inclusion and community access. One staff member shared a touching story. A woman came in to renew her long-expired library card. As a single mom with nearly $30 in fines, she hadn't been able to use the library for years. She came back because she heard we'd gone fine-free and left with her 2 boys and armfuls of books, grateful to reconnect with a place they love. Removing fines has made the library more accessible, not just for families, but also for local group homes. We've reached out to local youth and adult care providers to let them know we're fine-free and to help their residents sign up for library cards. We've also invited them to take part in our programs and help staff subscribe to our event updates through our newsletter. These efforts have eased stress for care organizations and have welcomed new faces into our space. We also value supporting local youth through employment. We promoted our summer job openings at high school job fairs in Spruce Grove and Stony Plain and received many amazing applicants through that. We are excited to welcome new students or student staff this summer. So we just hired for 4 positions. So if you see some new young faces in the library, that's why. Our high school employees bring energy, creativity, and fresh ideas to our team, and we're proud to be seen as a top choice employer for local youth. Finally, our partnerships with the downtown businesses continues to grow. We're excited to support Blueberry Bonus Days this year, encouraging festival goers to visit downtown shops during the Blueberry Music Festival, and the library has taken a key part in organizing that on behalf of all the businesses. Our summer reading scavenger hunt and story walk will also bring families into downtown, supporting both literacy and the local businesses. We see the library as a vital partner in helping the town meet its strategic goals, and we're so grateful for Council's continued support of our innovative programs and services. So thank you all for your time, and we welcome any comments or questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Does Council have any questions? Councilor Poleczko.
I'm convinced that you only look right. I'm not going to ask questions because I sit on the board, and I so appreciate the board that's there today. You guys do a phenomenal job. Lena, without you at the library, I'm not sure what it would be right now at this point in time, so thank you very much for all that you do. But I want to take a chance right now to look past you 3 ladies that did a phenomenal job today to part of the board and the staff that are in here today. I think that says a lot for what you guys do at the library when you can bring out the rest of the board or parts of the board and some staff members to see what it is that you're doing. And they're able to watch the response of council in the presentations that you do. And I can tell you, this is my close to the 8th year of being on council, and the reports that we get back from this board and from the director are some of the best reports that we've had over my council time. So thank you very much for all that you do for our library, for our community, and the giving back, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Palechko. They mean a lot.
Mayor Choi.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. and Thank you for the presentation, and always great to see you in council chambers. Actually, something piqued my interest was the eco-robotics. Can you expand a little more? Like, that just sounds kind of unique.
I witnessed it for the first time myself last week. So it's robots made using recyclables and other found objects around that would have been otherwise discarded. But the one that David showed me last week was called the cucaracha, which is a little robot that has a sensor that comes out of a cell phone that would make the cell phone vibrate, but it's like responsive to light. So you shine light on the cucaracha and it moves and runs away.
That is very interesting.
And I've registered.
I might have to stop by one of these days and take a look.
I've registered my grandkids in that program, so yes, I'll get firsthand knowledge of it.
Okay. Thank you for that. And just wanted to highlight, we appreciate the library aligning a lot of your priorities with the town's strategic plan. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've always mentioned, that libraries are no longer just bricks and mortars where people just go get books and then leave and you have to be quiet in the library. I don't see that anymore. It's a community meeting place where people can connect, learn to read, get access to the internet if they don't have it at home, and actually then build that sense of vibrancy and community, especially for newcomers that are just trying to, connect with the community and learn what is all available in the town of Stony Plain. And I have to, again, always give credit for the Stony Plain Library. I think we just celebrated 80 years last year, I believe.
This year.
This year? Okay. I don't remember what it is because I was here and I had to run, so I just came in and stopped. But definitely, I'm here because of the dedication of the staff at the Stony Plain Public Library. Out of the locations, I think I was in 4 of those locations that has housed the Stony Plain Public Library. And I was the recipient of being able to attend story time, checking out books, and learning to read from there. So kudos to the Stony Plain Library, and definitely I will be there as your #1 cheerleader and supporter all the time. So thank you.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and ladies. This presentation always blows me away because you do so much. And I know we sort of said that about the food bank and Tricala, but I think that what really is resonating for me today is the thread that connects all 3 of our presenters today. And I'll say the fact that we've got Ms. Scully and Ms. Ratsoy who have stayed after their presentations, I'm going to guess in no small part to show support for the work that you're doing in your presentation, because I know we're not that exciting once we get to the business items. And so, that thread of community and collaboration runs deep. And whether, we're have the food bank right now in Spruce Grove with Tricala moving to Spruce Grove, and you're here in Stony Plain, but that thread of community and collaboration is so strong. There were a number of things that I wrote down as you spoke, and we'll speak to Ms. Scully's comments about literacy rates, but you talked about expanding programming for preschoolers. That head start, that early opportunity to be exposed to literacy is key. You talked about expanding programs to teens, which tends to be a demographic that, we have preschool, we learn to read, we get excited for elementary, and we sort of lose them as they get into their teenage years. And the fact that you are able to bring them back into the library, into that space is tremendous. And then certainly newcomers is really important in a society like ours in Canada that welcomes people from all different cultures that speak all different languages. I believe it was Barb's presentation or in the community report, we were able to find it, which is great, but 77 languages spoken in the region. And so those programs for newcomers are so vital. Reaching out to group homes, like I'm going, if I was working for a library, that'd probably be the last thing on my list to do. But you think about such a critical community that needs that support, and removing the barriers through the fine-free environment, obviously the free memberships, and making sure that literacy is available to everyone, that it's barrier-free, that there aren't going to be limitations to that access and opportunity. And as a teacher, like, so thrilled to hear the role that the library and our municipality has in helping eliminate those barriers. Increasing your summer reading program, I think I heard 600 last year, over 800 this year. I mean, a significant increase in engaging kiddos in reading opportunities and building some excitement for that. This idea that we truly are stronger together runs deep this evening. And I'll go home this night filled with gratitude that, Councillor Pletchko pointed out, it's the board and it's the Friends of the Public Library and it's the staff that are here to support. It's partner agencies that have stuck around because they know how important of a role you each play in building a vital, delivering vital services to residents in the area. And so I have no questions, just a lot of appreciation and gratitude this evening. So thank you for all you do, staff, board, ladies that already presented. Just tremendous appreciation for all you do. So thank you for being here.
Okay, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. One always risks following up Councillor Anderson's comments. You always feel like you're going to come shy of quite meeting that same thing, but I would like to just show my appreciation. I know and highlight the summer reading program. I know it's a program when I was a kid I looked forward to in the summer. I made sure that my children got to participate in it, and I'm sure many residents in Stony Plain probably share that common experience of the summer reading program. So thank you guys for that. So now that we've highlighted all the good things, I am just curious. I just want to go to your report because it's it's not necessarily addressed per se, but you did mention some organizational reviews and some efforts in regards to staff safety. And now I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know we had an unfortunate incident with our owl out front of the library this week, and I know when I sat on the board there was some challenges when it came to safety downtown. And I'm just curious if your efforts on this file that you mentioned, staff safety, is this an attempt to address anything like that, or maybe I just let you talk and then you can dispel any misconceptions I have?
We look at safety holistically, right? So one of the first things the board did when I started last January was we passed a new patron code of conduct, and we passed very clear outlines for patron behavior and what would result in a temporary suspension of library privileges. And making that really clear to staff right off the bat has allowed them to communicate that to people if their behavior is kind of on the verge. And most people in the library are amazing, right? If you just let them know, hey, you know what, this is on the verge of crossing a line, they'll calm right down and get back to their library business, right? But it's also given staff the ability to be proactive and enforce policies for the enjoyment of the facility for everyone. Other work we're doing around creating a cohesive downtown business community is a more holistic approach to safety, right? Making sure that we know each other. We consider ourselves the anchor tenant of downtown. I don't know if that was council's plan, but I think it might have been. So getting to know the local businesses, letting them know. Last week I was out pounding the pavement with flyers, letting them know about our additional operating hours over the summer and encouraging them, if they're interested, to also be open at that time. Because the more activity we have downtown, the less it becomes a quiet area where issues can happen, right? If there's eyes on the street, people feel they're being watched, and it's that community safety piece, right? Not that they're being watched in a nefarious way, but that they're being watched in a way that their behavior will be noticed if it's inappropriate, right? So that's kind of the holistic approach we're taking with it. Every public library sees behavior issues, but we have processes in place to help us deal with it. And are trying to be preventative in other measures too.
Well, thank you for that answer. That's actually a really great answer. I appreciate that you've taken this holistic approach and that you do see yourselves as, an extra set of eyes there and an anchor tenant. So thank you.
Councillor Hansard?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Well, I have a few comments to make, and I do have one question I'll ask at the end. First of all the organizations that are here tonight work in partnership with the town of Stony Plain and other municipalities, but you're ours. And you serve anybody from anywhere, but I guess we're really proud of the fact, council would be proud of the fact that Stony Plain Public Library is our library. And what I would like to say is, one thing I've noticed is that no matter what event is going on in town, you people seem to be everywhere. And I don't care if it's summer sessions or the event that we held a year or so ago over at the youth center, or Midsummer Thursdays, or any other event, you're here. And as director, I know that that's a difficult thing to do, to put in the hours, to organize everything, to keep the whole organization moving in the right direction, and then to show up at these extras. But what's really amazing is the attitude with which you do that. You seem like, I hope you'll take this in a positive way, like a little girl, very excited about what you can get into and let people know that you care. So I want to commend the board for their choice in choosing you as the director, because I think you're the right person for this organization, for this time. You alone can't do it. Certainly, council can't do everything for every need that organizations take care of. We don't have enough money to just throw it and let that be the answer, because really and truly, it isn't. The money isn't always the answer. It takes the caring of people that really makes you a partner, and I want to thank you for that. And the way you've pulled that off and sort of slipped in there and filled a gap that maybe has been lacking a bit in the past. The other thing that I would like to know, in the old location, a few years ago when I sat on the library board, there was a concerted effort to involve seniors, to get them online, to teach them how to use simple social media tools like Facebook, and the joy that they had as they sat on a library computer here in Stony Plain and could connect with family in Germany and Holland and other countries was impossible to measure how much that meant to these people. What I would like to know is, do you still have a fair number of seniors that you are working with to hone their skills and to connect through social media with family and friends in other countries and other places in Canada, so that they don't feel so left out of their families' lives?
Mm-hmm. So as you heard Tricala mention, when it comes to technological help, people prefer one-on-one sessions. And I'm really grateful that we're able to do that at Stony Plain. We have 3 staff that offer bookable one-on-one technology help sessions for pretty much any issue you can imagine under the world, or whatever they want to learn about. And those sessions are always booked, and they're always booked well in advance. If you walked into today to book a session, you might be looking for 2 weeks out from today. Because they're extremely popular. We've tried to mitigate that with our partnership with Tricala and our programs like the Get Connected program that was funded by the Public Library Services branch earlier this year. And we do get people out in classrooms, but they really prefer that one-on-one help. So we're very lucky. I know a few years ago, part of the budget ask was to increase that staff position that provided those one-on-one tech support sessions. That was a very wise choice. That has been a tremendous gift to this community to be able to book that. Especially, you know, we're not close to a Best Buy where you can go get your tech help there, right? So we even do some help with working hardware, right? We have people bring in their whole computer sometimes, and you know, there's one staff member they need to book with for that, and if you've met them, you know who they are.
Okay, I will look to my left and see if there's any more questions. No? Okay, well, thank you so much for your presentation. We appreciate it.
I just want to say on behalf of the board how grateful we are for the support that this council has given our library over the last few years. It's been amazing, and not every library board gets to say that. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for us.
Awesome, great, thank you. Yes? Sure. Awesome, love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Next on our agenda is the adoption of the last Governance and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Councillor Palechko for the motion, please.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. That the June 2nd, 2025 Governance and Priorities Committee meeting minutes be approved as presented.
Okay. Is there any corrections or omissions? Questions? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Before we get on to our 4 business items, I'm just going to call a quick 10-minute recess, and we will see you guys back at 6:43. And welcome back. We are moving on to our 4 business items this evening. We will begin with business item 6.1, the annual report. Administration?
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to inform Council that the 2024 annual report is released and has been submitted to the Government Finance Officer Association for consideration in the Canadian Award for Financial Reporting. This submission marks the 14th application for the town. Council's commitment to transparency through a detailed annual report has proved successful through the achievement of this award for 13 consecutive years. This report presents highlights from the past year, including both financial and non-financial data, and is a collaboration between communications and financial services. The document provides additional detail beyond the audited financial statements with a 5-year statistical analytical section. Award recipients for this intake cycle will be announced in the spring of 2026. The annual report will be live on our website for viewing following this meeting. However, I do want to note that report will correct one error that is in your current printed documents. That would be on page 76 of the agenda. It's related to the amount that was raised in the Mayor's Golf Classic. The corrected amount should be $26,100, not $6,100. So that will be updated and corrected on the online version. Thank you.
Council, the floor is open for questions for clarity and understanding. Councillor Laurie, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. No question, no clarity, no understanding, just a comment. Again, this is a fantastic document that I see improve year over year over year. And this year, it really stood out to me how consumable this is from a resident standpoint. So there's a ton of technical data in the back of it. There's a ton of data analysis and statistics and historical stuff, which for people like me who love that kind of stuff is awesome, but there's a lot of people who that means nothing to. But the true meat of the report in the first, I think it's about 30 pages or so, it's amazing. And it's such a highlight of the incredible work that is done throughout this organization by all of the staff and the administration of the town. And so just kudos to a job well done on the report, kudos to a job well done on the past year, and thank you so much for continuing to shine. And I am looking forward to seeing another award next spring, because I think this one is definitely just as deserving as the last.
Councillor Hansard.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. My favorite part of the report is the SLT, Senior Leadership Team, pictures and actually having you come to life on the pages. So to our town manager, I would encourage that. I know that your whole team is wonderful about putting council out there front and center, and maybe that's as it should be. But we certainly play a role, and we're seen as the public figure, but we would not be able to do the job we do without the senior leadership team. And not only were they put out there, but the pictures were amazing. Absolutely nobody looked miserable because they had to have their picture taken. And I really appreciated that the public could have a face on the name, which they can find online easily, to know who makes all this good stuff happen in the town of Stony Plain, leading the group that really is where the rubber meets the road, and that's all the rest of our staff. I think when we open our organization up to let the public know who all in this, I think I read in here 154 employees run this town as we continue to grow, it's a wonderful thing that you've done. So I really hope that this will continue, Mr. Town Manager, and that I know you're probably not going to allow senior leadership's pictures to be constant, but really you all should not be shying away from the camera. It's okay to have your picture taken with council members. We like that, and we like sharing sharing the light with you, because without you, we would be a lot less prominent and a lot less effective in our community. So thank you for letting me brag on your team, Mr. Golden.
Deputy Mayor, just a quick thank you to Councillor Hanser for those comments, but I know they're echoed by the rest of council, and I do believe it is not just a strong and above average leadership team, but yeah, we do dress up we do clean up pretty good there. We were pretty proud of ourselves. Nobody fell in the mud when we were getting those pictures taken or anything, so we're feeling good about that too.
Any more? Councillor Anderson.
I wasn't going to go here, but Councillor Hanser did bring this up. I'm looking at page 15 of the actual annual report. I haven't, found the actual page in our package, so I'm going to go to 72 of 167. I just want to bring attention to the picture in the bottom right of that page. Does anybody else feel like our General Manager of Planning and Infrastructure looks like Clark Kent? Superman, not just in appearance, but also the work that he does for us. Definitely a Superman in that seat over there.
Does our General Manager have any comments on that?
Madam Deputy Mayor, I noticed that the Superman forgot to put his glasses on for the photo and just let his secret out.
Through Deputy Mayor to all of council, I would say that the CAO is the leader of this Justice League.
That's wonderful. Awesome. So with no more comments, I will ask Councillor Laurie for the motion, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'll move that the 2024 annual report be accepted for information.
Any debate or discussion on that motion? Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just again, kudos to our staff for putting this great report together. In terms of the information that is contained in this report, definitely it is a lot. If you can look through that and have the opportunity, how do we piecemeal that out to our residents? Because I don't think, we have this lovely report, and I will read it. I think members of council will, but there are only a select few that will actually read it. Is there like bite-sized pieces, like take a bite out of it and just highlight different areas?
We don't eat books. The library will tell you that, so please don't. Administration?
Deputy Mayor through to Mayor and all of council. One of the things that's, I think, great about this report, and just something that the town does incredibly well, is that a lot of the information that you're going to see pertinent at the beginning of the report is stuff that's found through our quarterly reporting and updates, which I would say is a great bite-size piece of information for the town to be able to absorb. So I think that's probably one of the great mechanisms we have that are on an annual basis as well as a quarterly basis.
Any more comments, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, thank you. Definitely appreciate that, and I do see that quite often in terms of our email news blasts, our social media feeds. However, I do encounter a lot of individuals that ask me questions that are obviously we've gone through chambers, it's been public, we've reported on it, and we presented it, and we've had news blasts regarding the same issue. So how do we address some of those issues where we're missing that segment of the population that are not getting that type of information?
Deputy Mayor through to Mayor and all of council, that is something that I'm going to need to take back and put some thought to.
Thank you.
Any more comments or questions on the motion? Seeing none, I will call to question. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to 6.2, the Land Management Report, Administration.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council. In 2023, Council reviewed and approved the land management policy with the objective of providing a transparent, fair, and accountable approach to land transactions and the management of town-owned property. This policy requires an annual report to Council, and for your review and consideration is the 2024 report requirements of this policy, including the current surplus land holdings with any additional identified land recommended to be declared surplus, projected land requirements, and land transactions. As noted in the report, beginning on page 141 of the agenda package, the town's land inventory is currently comprised of 394 lots containing approximately 399 hectares of land, noting an increased inventory of land over the previous year. The town's land inventory can be searched and viewed on the town website, and I've shared on the screen there a snapshot of the platform that we utilize through our website. So I'll just click on the, under the work section, under the maps link. It will take you to our GIS platform, which includes a selection of all of our 394 lots and their designation throughout the town so that they can be viewed, searched, and understood in more detail, publicly available. At this time, administration is not seeking any request for any specific lands to be declared surplus as part of this report. Our approach to recommendations of surplus town-owned land are typically presented on a site-specific basis. Additionally noted in the report, under the Housing Accelerator Fund, Initiative Number 7, a town land feasibility study is currently being conducted to determine the land suitability for residential development on town-owned lands for housing within the Old Town Community Plan area of Stony Plain. This study may provide recommendations for future consideration for repurposed parcels of town-owned land. The last point I would just highlight is relative to a future or current and future land transaction. In 2020, Council will recall that the town transacted the purchase and exchange of a portion of property in Old Town South with Parkland School Division to facilitate the building of the new Westview School. The portion of lands that Parkland School Division retained around the current or the previous Stony Plain Central site and the old Memorial Composite School site will be transferred to the town in Q3 of this year. So our transfer of town-owned inventory will be adjusted significantly with that transaction occurring later this year, and that will be reflected in our 2025 annual report. Those are the highlights of the report, and just want to offer an opportunity if Council has any questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Council, the floor is open for questions of clarity and understanding in the presentation. Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just in regards to some of the no designation lots in the map that you had pulled up, it took me a second to figure out why I was looking at a different map, but I had the wrong checkbox, I guess. When it comes to the golf course, the land that Heritage Park is on and so on, just curious why no designation. Obviously, they're designated for specific purposes and intents. And when I initially read no designation, to me, I was thinking sort of empty lots that haven't been designated for any future use, if you will. And so just some thoughts there.
So the description or the definition within those is really based upon the level of restrictions that are applied to those parcels. So no designation is an indication that there are no restrictions, either environmental or reserve based, that would allow for future consideration of those parcels. So it provides the opportunity for us to utilize them in the manner that the land use bylaw aligns with and dictates for. I hope that answers your question correctly.
Yeah, I think so. What I guess I'm sort of wondering that I would be looking for is just undeveloped, maybe town-owned lots. And if we have an inventory of lots that, whether they have a municipal reserve or a public utility or whatever, anyway, I know public utility, I guess, is a little bit different, but how many lots or how much land do we have that is undeveloped that is available for municipal purposes?
So certainly one of the things that we're currently conducting with regards to the feasibility study that I referenced for the Housing Accelerator Fund is looking to assess any sort of underutilized parcels that could be suitable for redevelopment purposes. So those, that work that's being conducted would certainly, to a degree, I believe, address some of the interest that you're looking at to identify properties that the town owns that could be repurposed or redeveloped in a different manner. We also, I would say, typically in any given year, we are doing assessments on town properties that we own that, either have a facility on them that are being utilized or underutilized, and looking at opportunities to improve their use or consideration for future redevelopment. We have some of these properties identified already, and they're part of perhaps the master plan work that we've done. Transportation master planning comes to mind for sure. There are a number of places where we look to identify opportunities to optimize or redevelop town-owned land for an improved use that would benefit town growth and development as we go forward. But I wouldn't say that we necessarily have that housed in a platform that the public could easily access in this format. This is a much more simplistic summary of the inventory.
Thank you. Mayor Troy?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just in terms of questions for administration, there's mention that we've increased the town-owned lands over last year, and by the Q3 of this year, we'll have the transfer of the old Memorial Complex High School and Stony Plain Central lands. So at what point in time will council have the ability to review those acquisitions and kind of have that conversation of where to go, what's the best avenue in terms of going forward? Because having land is good, but just holding land is not good.
Thank you, Worship. I believe the intent is really to utilize our Old Town South redevelopment initiative through our corporate plan and the Old Town Community Plan that we undertook a number of years ago and is up for review and consideration. That there's an opportunity under the Old Town Community Plan to look at how the nature of that area has changed and what the future might hold, as a lot is going on both with the school, the recreation facility, and other developments that are happening in that area. So I would say there hasn't been a definitive time frame attached to that, but that's certainly on the radar for part of the Old Town South redevelopment initiative and the Old Town South community plan that we would look to incorporate the planning for those new lands to be brought into that work.
Okay, thank you. So that conversation will happen after the transfer of land to the town of Stony Plain?
Deputy Mayor, through to the Mayor. Just building a bit further as to the General Manager's comments there. So, I would generally expect that that dialogue will be taking place into, early, mid, throughout 2026. Council of at that time will have the opportunity to, refine what some of the uses would look like, or the dialogues and so on, as to what would ultimately come to be constructed in that particular area. So the timeline for the initial dialogues, I would expect to be, through 2026.
Is there any more comments, questions for clarity? Seeing none, Councillor Meyer with the motion, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Sorry, I wanted to get it right. Yes, that the annual land management report be accepted for information.
Any debate or discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I will call it the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to 6.3, the residential speed reduction. Administration.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This presentation will review the topic of residential speed reductions.
why municipalities are completing them, and what it could look like for the town of Stony Plain. We'll start with a quick introduction, then move into the benefits of reducing residential speed limits. Next, we'll review the findings and recommendations from the town of Stony Plain's residential speed study. After covering the what and the why, we'll touch on how the town could implement a speed reduction. So let's begin with a few key statistics. 82% of Canadians now live in cities, which is a 6% increase over the last 20 years. The average Canadian drives 15,000 kilometers per year, which is enough to cross Canada and back. And of those 15,000 kilometers, most trips are in urban areas, as 70 to 80% of trips are local. With such high vehicle use in our cities, it's crucial to design safe transportation systems that support livable neighborhoods, encourage active transportation, and most importantly, to make allowance for errors and eliminate predictable and preventable serious injuries and fatalities. The Safe Systems approach, developed in Australia and now adopted by the Transportation Association of Canada, puts human safety first. It recognizes that people make mistakes and designs systems to prevent those mistakes from resulting in death or serious injury. Speed is the biggest factor in how severe a crash is. Even when it's not the cause, it determines the outcome. Right now, Stony Plain's residential collectors and local roads are posted at 50 kilometers an hour, but there is a growing shift seen across Europe, Australia, and now North America towards lowering residential speeds. Tonight, we'll be focusing on the idea of reducing these roads to 40 kilometers an hour and why that's worth considering. So even a small drop in speed has a big impact. Lower speeds mean shorter stopping distances, lower impact velocities, and far less crash energy, dramatically reducing the risk of serious injury or death. For example, the chance of a pedestrian dying when hit by a car drops from 85% at 50 to 30% at 40 kilometers per hour. The figure on the slide also shows that a driver going 40 kilometers an hour can stop 18 meters sooner than one going 50, making it more likely that a collision is avoided altogether. Let's look at Edmonton's speed reduction, since it's the largest sample size in the region and offers valuable data. So in 2023, the city and the University of Alberta published the studied effects of reducing residential speed limits from 50 to 40. They found that the average speed dropped by 1.1 kilometers, and 85th percentile speeds fell by 3 to 8 kilometers per hour at more than half of the studied sites. There were also fewer vehicles driving at high outlier speeds, which is an important step in improving safety. Collision data showed 10% fewer crashes, 12% fewer injuries and fatalities, and a 33% drop in collisions involving pedestrians and cyclists. The result, a clear and meaningful improvement to neighborhood safety. Now that we understand the basis of the review, let's look at the results. Apologies, I skipped ahead. Now that we've seen the safety benefits and how neighboring municipalities are adopting lower speeds, let's look at how, apologize, I also skipped ahead again. Now that we've seen the safety benefits in the neighboring municipalities that are adopting lower speeds, let's look at how this could apply to Stony Plain. In early 2025, the town hired Martinson Gully to study which of our 51 kilometers of roads could support a reduction from 50 to 40 kilometers per hour. The focus was on collectors because local roads are designed to be people-focused, with more pedestrians, children, parking, and cyclists, so they are typically included in speed reductions by default. Arterial roads, on the other hand, are built for moving traffic efficiently. They carry transit, emergency services, trucks, and commuters, and are usually included in residential speed reductions, as a reduction on arterial roads could lead to congestion or shortcutting through neighborhoods. Collectors sit in the middle. They connect local and arterials and move people through neighborhoods. Some collectors see heavy pedestrian traffic activity and have homes fronting them, while others don't. So this study aimed to identify which collectors fit in the residential context and should be reduced to 40 kilometers per hour, and which should remain at 50. Now that we understand the basis of the review, let's look at the results. The map shows collector roads color-coded by recommendation. Blue roads are where the context and road design support keeping the 50 kilometer per hour limit. You can see all industrial collectors are highlighted blue, which is due to their context. This recommendation goes beyond the industrial collectors and actually includes the resulting local roads, meaning that all industrial zones would keep their current speed limits of 50 kilometers an hour. Another collector worth noting is 44th Avenue. Although this is technically a residential collector, the context and physical design of this road more so resembles that of an arterial road, so this road would also be excluded from a reduction. Dark green roads are collectors where both the context and road design supports reducing the speed to 40. Light green roads have the right context for 40, but may lack the design elements to naturally slow traffic. And the recommendation here is to still reduce the speed, but monitor for compliance. If needed, the town could introduce traffic calming to bring actual speeds in line with the new limit. Finally, all other residential roads, which are not highlighted on this map, excluding those in industrial areas, would be included in the proposed reduction to 40 kilometers an hour. So what would residents actually notice if speeds were reduced? First, we'd see compliance on local roads. The town's traffic data shows that average speeds on these roads are already between 30 and 40 kilometers per hour. So in most cases, we'd simply be aligning the posted speed with how people already drive. Second, we'd see a significant drop in high-end speeding. So these outlier drivers, those in the 85th percentile, often ignore road design and drive 10 or more over the speed limit. Edmonton saw meaningful reductions in these speeds, and we'd expect similar results. Third, despite concerns about delays, the actual impact on travel time is minimal. Most trips on local and many collector roads involve stop-and-go movements. Drivers spend more time accelerating and decelerating than cruising at posted speeds. When testing the changes to drive times here in Stony Plain, so driving from arterial roads to addresses deep in residential neighborhoods at 40 versus 50, the results showed that less than 10% or less than 10 seconds was added to the commute in all of our tests. In short, the change would improve safety, reduce risk, and have little impact on most people's day-to-day travel. The town also receives frequent complaints. In terms of indirect impacts, reducing residential speeds could discourage shortcutting through neighborhoods, leading to more arterial road network, or more use of arterial road network, where higher speeds are more appropriate. The town also receives frequent speeding complaints, where follow-up speed reviews show that no significant speeding issues exist. Lowering the speed would help align posted speeds with community expectations and improve the overall sense of safety. Reduced speeds also improve visibility and decision-making at intersections. So at 40 kilometers an hour, drivers need significantly less sight distance, making it easier to turn when sight lines are partially blocked by parked cars and other obstructions. Overall, a 40-kilometer-hour limit would create more livable neighborhoods and encourage walking and cycling through a more people-focused street network. So now that we've covered the what and the why, let's talk about how the town could implement a residential speed reduction. The operational plan would involve updating the traffic bylaw and completing all the required signage changes prior to the go-live date. The enforcement strategy would include taking an education-first approach. This would involve grace periods where warnings are given and educational brochures for first-line workers to provide residents with. The communications plan could involve digital, physical, and in-person strategies such as media posts, newspaper ads, and pop-up booths at community events. Lastly, the town will look to move forward with a residential speed reduction with the implementation occurring in early 2026. In Q4 of 2025, a revised traffic bylaw could be brought forward to reflect the changes required to support residential speeds at 40 kilometers an hour. The bylaw approval would act as the direction from council to move forward with the changes, and in the first quarter, the town would finalize its operation, enforcement, and communication plans. Any required communication campaign and signage changes would be completed for Q2 of 2026 in time for the go-live date. And at this point, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Council, the floor is open for questions of clarity and understanding. Councillor Laurie.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, and thank you very much for the presentation this evening. Some interesting data. I know it's been a topic of conversation back and forth for a little while. The one thing that I'm kind of missing, well, there's two pieces in this report that I'm missing that I'm curious about. The first is any statistics in regards to speeding and accidents within the town of Stony Plain. So you mentioned a little bit about it, but you didn't, like what I heard was you were citing many areas where we already have essentially compliance with this, where it's 30 and 40 kilometers. I'm just wondering if you have any statistics in regards to accidents on these roads that we're looking at, reducing the speed limit, as well as, you know, the issuing of citations on these roads for exceeding the current speed limit.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Laurie, thank you for the question. So the town annually collects traffic data, so both volumes and speeds. The traffic data was used in the study to determine and verify the results of the study. As mentioned earlier, on most local roadways, average speeds are within that 30 to 40 kilometer range, so we're already seeing compliance or potential compliance to a 40 kilometer hour speed there. But on collector roadways, that's where we see, especially at the 85th percentile range, so those higher end speeders, non-compliance with potential 40 kilometers an hour, and even in some cases, so the light green roads, non-compliance with the 50 kilometers an hour. So that's what the traffic data is currently being used for, to kind of highlight those areas that would require further monitoring for compliance. And then in terms of collisions, the town does receive some basic collision data from the RCMP. However, some municipalities do have dedicated positions to go through and actually take that data and use it in a meaningful way. But the town, currently at its size, does not have that as a service. So that data normally needs to be sifted through and looked at to see and determine kind of what is the actual cause of the incident, and is it related to traffic operations versus, say, like a distracted driving.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And then if I may, the second one. The second part is there is a discussion about the implementation, but there's no discussion about the cost for this change. So obviously there's a significant amount of time that gets invested into it, and then as well there's a cost involved for the bylaw update, signage, communications, monitoring, adjustments, so on. Do we have an approximate cost for this change?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Laurie, so we are currently going through some signage inventory data. So during our pavement collection, or pavement condition collection process, we did also collect LiDAR data that we're using to identify all of the town signage inventory, and we're currently checking that data set for quality assurance, and then we will be using that to determine all of the locations that new signs need to be installed. So right now, our ballpark pricing based off of a jurisdictional scan that was completed, talking to other municipalities to see how much operationally it took them to change all the signage over, we're expecting between $10,000 and $15,000.
Thank you. And just for clarity, was that simply the signage portion, or did that include the communications, the monitoring, the adjustments, all of that time and cost as well?
Through the Deputy Mayor to Councillor Laurie, that is correct. That is simply the signage costs.
Councillor Palechko.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. So I realize this is geared towards residential, but I'm curious why Boulder Boulevard would stay at the 50. In my 2 terms on council, I'm pretty sure 80 or 90% of the businesses along there, I've received a call from wanting that area reduced. And knowing that we're moving into an area that is going to be fairly populated over the next little while with traffic, I'm wondering why we wouldn't make that a key priority at this same time, so that when we implement everything, the cost is not burdened a year down the road or 2 years down the road when we figure out that really that area should be at the 40% or 30 or whatever it is that council decides to do, or maybe it stays at 50. But I'm just wondering why that was in the report. It basically says stay the same, and yet we know over the years of residential property in there, as well as the commercial, that's a highly sought after thing, is to have a slower.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Plechko, thank you for the question. So the determination of the collector roadways that will be reduced to 40 kilometers an hour was part due to design of the existing roadway, but also largely due to the context of the roadway. So context meanings land uses, and also activity level and the types of activities that are ongoing. Because it's a commercial an industrial land use, the type of activity level, pedestrian usage, fronting homes, that is kind of kept to a minimum. Now, it's not to say that we're not unaware of business owner concerns about the speeding on Boulder Boulevard. We have done speed monitoring and found that, yes, there is a speeding issue with compliance to 50 kilometers an hour, but that doesn't necessarily warrant the reduction to 40. Our current priorities would be more so to align operating speeds with the current speed limit of 50, and that in its own would see a great benefit to the people who are calling the town with those concerns.
Okay, any other? Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for the presentation this evening. Certainly appreciate the report. This was a topic of discussion through the last election campaign, and I'm sure it will be something that comes up again this year. Some of the areas that I've received the most calls on in terms of perceived speed would be Fairway, West Terra, St. Andrews through Meridian, and that's all included here, and so that's great to see. And if council sees fit, whether it's this council, it might be tight to fit it into our term, but Q4, whoever's sitting here at the table when this comes back, I think it's a really important discussion, but really pleased that it's come forward and appreciate the presentation this evening.
Yes. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I was going to save my comments for the debates section, but no, I appreciate this coming through. It's certainly an issue I heard a lot on the campaign trail. So, I mean, the timing is what it is. So it is finally coming before us. But to the report, I didn't hear it mentioned, but I thought it worth bringing up. We have seen an increase in what I would call alternative modes of transportation. We are certainly trying to encourage that with electric bikes and the whatnot, and easing restrictions on those. So as we see more of those out and about, I mean, it does seem prudent to lower the speed limits, as there's not much protecting those people. And we've heard this evening that even 10 kilometers makes a difference. So I'll just leave it there. I'll make any additional comments later, but thank you for the report.
Any other comments on the presentation? Mayor Troy?
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a question in terms of roads that were monitored. I think many members of council have received many calls regarding 79th Avenue and 48th Street. I noticed it was not covered in this study. How do we get access to that data to properly advocate for the speeds on those roads?
Through Deputy Mayor to the Mayor, thank you for your question. So the speed data is all published on the Town of Stony Plain's website. That can be found under Work and then Maps and then GIS. The highway or 48th Street is provincial roadways, so traffic counts for any provincial roadways can be found on the Alberta Transportation website.
Through Deputy Mayor to Your Worship and all of Council, with respect to advocating for any changes on the highway. So if there's, as we go through this process, and for tonight, as the staff have mentioned tonight, the intent tonight is to show a roadmap of how we intend to go in on about implementing these next steps with the speed reduction. So part of that will be presenting the map to council, which does include all the town-owned roads that we do feel necessitated change. There will likely be some interpoints where we have to talk to Alberta Transportation about any intentions with them to align with us with any of this dialogue. At this time, I don't believe there is any intent from Alberta Transportation to align to any speed changes in the times that I've spoken with them. Certainly, as we mentioned to them that we're looking at it, we would appreciate their comment on if they would or wouldn't support that. At this time, though, I don't believe they would, but this is something that we could engage with them as we go through.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that, and definitely I'll look into some of that data. I think we do receive a lot of calls on speeding on 79th Avenue, which continues to happen day and night, winter and summer. So something a little more eyes or a little more activity there would be good as well. In terms of looking at this, so my question is that when all the local roads be then reduced to 40 kilometers an hour?
Through Deputy Mayor to the Mayor, that is correct. All local roads, excluding industrial local roads, would be reduced to 40 kilometers.
Okay, and then so what do we do with High Park, which has a local road of 30?
Through Deputy Mayor to the Mayor, High Park would be changed to match 40 kilometers an hour for consistency throughout the network.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions for clarity? Seeing none, I will ask Councillor Hansard for the motion, please.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I move that the residential speed reduction report be accepted for information.
Any debate or discussion on the motion? You good, Councillor Meyer? Okay. Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Lastly, we have business item 6.4, the Stony Plain Public Library Administration.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, there's no more information from administration. We did hear the presentation this evening. If a question has popped up with council since the library has departed, certainly I would take that question and get back to you through email.
Council, floor is open. Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just very brief, just to the council representative on the library board. Would love you to pass on my appreciation and gratitude to the board and the work that they're doing. We've seen a number of different executive directors come through in my short time on council, and the work that they've done to engage the community, to reach out, to be proactive in who they engage with. Mayor Choi and I had the privilege of attending the Filipino Heritage Day celebration, and we happened to have a Stony Plain booth there as part of their outreach to newcomers. And so just gratitude for all that they've done, especially in Ms. Kelly's time there, but really appreciate the direction the library is going.
Any other comment? Okay. Mayor Choi, can you please make the motion?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'll move that the Stony Plain Public Library 2024 annual report be accepted for information.
Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, call question, all in favor? And that is carried. All right, moving on to council discussion. Councillor Hansard.
Madam Deputy Mayor, I only have one thing to bring up, well, two things. Summer sessions was amazing again, even though we had rain. And still the crowd came, and we had music in the park. The other thing I'd like to bring up is we handled before on this council getting the owners now of the former RCMP detachment to take care of their lot. And it's a mess again. Not with trash, but the grass is about 2.5, 3 feet tall. It's weeds, full of weeds again. And it really looks bad in a residential neighborhood. So if we could look after that, that would be great.
Administration?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Hansard, we'll pass on those comments to the current owner. We do keep an open dialogue with them on the progress of their application, so we'll pass on that. It's the comments from council tonight about the sightliness of the area.
Okay, Councillor Plechko.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor, for doing a great job this evening. I'm just wondering if administration, actually maybe the town manager, could give us a little bit of an update on the development over in the park, all the activity that's happening along the highway and whatnot that's going on over there.
Deputy Mayor Loynes, I certainly appreciate the question. I'll just maybe clarify. As Councillor Plechko, I'll just ask, referring to the North Business Park, North Industrial Area?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate the question. So, I'll probably spend a bit of time on this particular topic. Council will recall that on January 13th of this year, approvals were granted to change within the ASP and land use bylaw for sections of the North Industrial Park. Specifically, the area located directly across from Highway 16A, from the Starbucks on Highway 16A. Council will know that I appreciate Starbucks, and that's how I designate a lot of my transportation in the community. That land north of 16A was added into the ASP, and a land use designation for further commercial development was applied to those lands. Provision for an extension of 28th Street north of 16A was also included in those processes as well. The development processes have continued, and the town is currently working with the land developer and other consultants to have a 20-acre site prepared for the construction of a Costco store. A development of this size has required coordinated infrastructure planning with the land developer, along with working with the Government of Alberta regarding the construction of a full intersection at 16A and 28th Street. For Council and the public's awareness, much of the land development information for this area is contained in the agenda of January 13th, 2025. It's a good spot for anybody interested in what is going on out there to take a look at. And as the trip volumes created by Costco can be significant, Deputy Mayor Loynes' transportation planning is underway for the localized area and the wider area. Staff will continue to work with the land developer, the Government of Alberta, and other interested commercial developments to ensure roadways are right sized for what we would expect to be even further commercial development in the area. Deputy Mayor Loynes, that's a bit of an update. I hope that addresses the question. Certainly can speak maybe a little bit further on that if required.
Councillor Plechko.
Thank you for the update, and we look forward to working with everybody to see that come to fruition as well. Just one other thing for this evening, if I could. I want to thank administration for the great package that you provided for us to go to Calgary this past weekend to advocate for the community of Stony Plain. I think that package helps with a lot of stuff, and us being in front of many of the ministers and the MLAs down there does a lot for our community. And we look forward to meeting some of them up here as we communicated and networked with them over the last 2 or 3 days. So thank you very much for that. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Ploshko. Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have one question and a brief comment this evening. I was looking for the minutes this week where this actually came up, but I'm going to go off memory because I couldn't find it. And that was an update on our waste contract and options that may be available to residents. I think there was a motion that came forward that we would see something before the summer break. And so just looking for an update from admin there, please.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Anderson, you are correct. That's planned for the next meeting on July 14th.
Perfect. I know many residents that will, I'm sure, tune in or at least look for an update when that's done. The other comment I have this evening, Councillor Meyer and I had the privilege of attending the Westview Health Centers Foundation AGM and got some updates on the work that they've been up to. And there were a couple of things that really stood out for me. Especially in a time of inflation and financial challenges for many families in our area. The first is their Wishing You Wellness Program. This is a cost share with the Tri-Leisure Centre to provide wellness passes to residents in the area that may not be able to afford them on their own. In 2024, that program cost just under $2,500 in terms of the, I can't remember the number of residents, but that was the cost. And going into 2025, almost $20,000, so not quite 10 times, but pretty close. And they're projecting that to go up again next year. Now, there was some one-time funding that came in that allowed the expansion of that program, but it's my understanding that the foundation and the Tri-Leisure Centre have spoken and that they are planning to carry that program forward and not to have a limit or anything like that, but try to ensure every resident that needs that program would be able to access it. So I think that that's fantastic for our community. The other one was their revenue growth. And they presented numbers that over the last about 3 years grew 300%. And my first question was, or thought was, well, that's awesome. Second question was, is it sustainable? And had the privilege of meeting with some of their staff after, and it sounds like there's a strong plan moving forward that they have every expectation that they'll be able to sustain the growth in revenue that they've seen. They've got some very exciting projects on the go. I don't want to jump the gun there, but I think there'll be some news coming out from the Westview Health Centre Foundation over the next 6 months or so that will be very exciting for area residents. And so just want to express my gratitude this evening to the staff at Westview Health, to the volunteers and board members of the Westview Health Centre Foundation for all they do to maintain a healthy, viable community.
Thank you very much. Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just a couple things this evening. We'll start with, through you to administration. I was out for a run at the football field track. Anyhow, I noticed some new fresh oil on parts of the track, as well as some new, looks like some new asphalt. I'm just curious if that was us or if it wasn't, if you know about it.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Meyer and all of Council, yes, that was town work taking care of. There was a distortion over in the one side of the track there. I went and looked at it myself today. The work was done on Friday, I believe. We had a company come in infrared and add some more material to the location and try and make the joints a lot tighter in that one location. They also crack sealed a select amount of cracks along the section, most of the 100-meter dash section. Okay, and then just to follow up to. Is that, because you mentioned select crack sealant, so is that all the improvements that should be expected? Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Meyer and all of Council, at this time, yes, we were addressing the worst spots at the time within our that we could address really quickly within our budget. We're going to see how that functions and consider some other work if needed.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Just one other one. Now, I know back in the spring, we were talking about melting and water and to report it. Now, what I want to report to you is some standing water. It is in a location at the end of 56th Avenue, just by the old Stony Plain Central location. Anyhow, it's sorry, through you to administration, I shouldn't. It's a yearly standing water. I think the issue is that it doesn't drain from that area, and it gets quite stale and smelly every year.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Meyer, if you could email me the location, or maybe a map of where it is. We can have staff come take a look, and I can get a response back to you about what's being done. We also, again, always encourage residents to put things through the reported app, and so we can properly track that as well. But you could also send it to me, and I'll make sure it gets through there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Laurie?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Just want to start with touching on Councillor Anderson's comments in regards to the Wishing You Wellness program. Fantastic program that is coordinated through the TLC, the Westview Health Network, Westview Health Foundation, and so many other partners. I just wanted to highlight another great partnership with one of the partners we had there this evening with the Tri-Leisure Centre in the public libraries. And so the Stony Plain Public Library and the Tri-Leisure Centre also work together, and the Tri-Leisure Centre has increased the number of passes available to be loaned out through the library as well. So many options that make for great accessibility of that facility within our community. So appreciate you bringing forward Wishing You Wellness. I did want to just touch briefly on our Canada Day celebrations here in town. It was a fantastic celebration that we had here in town, but I just wanted to touch base with administration and ask, I did not see anything in regards to a citizenship ceremony this year. I know that's something that we've prided ourselves well on in the past. I know it kind of went away a little bit during COVID, seemed like we got it back, but didn't see anything this year. And then just wondering, I've collected a little bit of feedback from residents that attended the Canada Day celebrations at Jubilee Park in Spruce Grove and have heard over the last several years that it is getting very, very busy. And I got asked the question this year very specifically, when will Stony Plain be bringing back an actual evening Canada Day celebration with entertainment, fireworks, and so on and so forth? So I committed that I would bring that forward. So just wondering if I could touch base on those two items.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Laurie and all of Council. I'll start with the first question with regards to the citizenship ceremony. And we have been, our staff have been in touch with the Government of Canada representatives that coordinate and provide us with the opportunity to host the citizenship ceremony, and they are in a scenario where they're delayed in because I believe primarily because of the federal election that was held just recently in executing citizenship ceremonies in communities such as Stony Plain, but we are very much in touch with them to look at hosting one. We are hoping to host one before the end of this year, but certainly we're at their discretion of timelines, and so we're just working with them on when it will be appropriate to coordinate that in Stony Plain again, and certainly have demonstrated a willingness to offer that in future as well. I'll just hand it over to the General Manager of Community Protective Services to speak to the Canada Day question.
Ms. Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Laurie, certainly did a quick conversation. So again, this is a side of a desk for 10 minutes dialogue with Laurie after the event. Certainly, they saw a sharp drop off of people attending around that 2:30 to 3 time frame. So certainly, their assessment of the situation was 11 o'clock was really good in terms of attendance. People trickled in between 10:30 and 11, and then people started to depart around 2:30, 3 o'clock. So that was an observation that they made this year, and she was here last year and the same occurred. Whether an evening or firework event, we'd have to look at that in terms of numbers and the ability to execute that. Again, we don't want to compete with the city of Spruce Grove as they offer some of those elements too with their Canada Day event. I think there's been a bit of a soft understanding that Canada Day is their larger event. For us, it's a bit of a smaller scale. So certainly can open up some dialogue and conversations with the city related to that and staff internally to see what the options are.
Thank you. So anecdotally, I would suggest there may be a correlation in the drop-off of attendance in the afternoon here and the uptick in attendance at the Spruce Grove event at Jubilee Park. And so specifically, the feedback that I'm starting to receive from residents is that the event at Jubilee Park is becoming quite large to the point where they don't feel that it's as enjoyable as it once was because of the capacity, and that they are looking for another event to attend in the region. So maybe a dialogue with the city of Spruce Grove, understanding what they're seeing in relation to attendance in that event. I know we've seen our New Year's, which is predominantly the one in that friendly understanding that we take care of. Our New Year's events, particularly when the weather is good, are very, very well attended. And again, same thing, I would say likely are at capacity or have reached capacity. So maybe being that the communities are now a combined almost 60,000, we may need to start looking at those celebrations with more than just one location. I think might be coming in the next few years. Just one more thing, if I may, this evening.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We heard mention of it a little bit earlier in regards to another unfortunate act of vandalism here in the downtown area in the town. I've brought it forward before, and I'd like to bring it forward again. Looking for an understanding, what steps can we take and what things can we do to start addressing this? It does not seem like the issues are becoming less. It does not seem like the issues are becoming more minor. In fact, if anything, I would say they're escalating. I've seen from, minor stuff like garbage to spray paint to smashed windows to now damage to public art. I'm not very anticipatory of what the next aspect could look like. And so I'm just curious, if this continues to escalate in the town, what are we prepared to do about it?
Ms. Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Laurier. Certainly did have a conversation about that with the inspector this afternoon. Definitely a couple options that we're considering with respect to both of our CPO and RCMP detachment. Inspector McGilvery was actually out in the car on Friday evening and got some firsthand observations and interworkings of what happens in the downtown core. He did describe to me he drove through the downtown core quite often on Friday night just to see. So I think the message is he's heard the message, and certainly he wanted to go out on his own and have a look at what that looked like. We did have a robust conversation about that, and certainly there is some understanding and respect and work behind the scenes to try and determine what the best strategy is for that. And we did open a file on the damage that was done to the public art, so they will be investigating that.
So thank you, appreciate that. And then another aspect would be several of these instances have occurred at either town-owned or town-associated facilities, being town office, public library, so on and so forth. I've come to the understanding that at the current point in time, we do not have surveillance systems in these locations. I'm wondering, is that something that we have started to look at, something that we've considered, so that when these files are opened by the RCMP, we may actually have some evidence that we can provide them, rather than just simply this action has occurred, hopefully somebody saw or heard something?
Deputy Mayor Lloyd's through to Councillor Laurier and all of council. So just, speaking specifically to security cameras or their use thereof on I'll say Stony Plain, town of Stony Plain properties. So the town does have some history with that. There a number of years ago, though, I would say that we did have some security cameras in the downtown area. So we do have some history with that, both the technology side and what for us as a public body, I'll just say essentially becomes to the privacy aspects as a public entity and how we have to abide by those rules of the day. Again, it was quite some time ago. Quick answer to a question of, has that come up? Are we looking at that? Is that being considered? Short answer is yes. Medium answer is there's nothing imminent that would be in place, so to speak. Nothing's planned to be in place imminently, within the course of the next 6 weeks, or frankly 6 months. I know our new operations center has some provision for that, but that would Operation Public Works building, I'll say, has some provision there that would be, I believe, focused essentially on our property. So again, short answer, yes. There's some paperwork, I'll just say paperwork, that as a public entity we have to have in place in certain ways. Medium answer is, again, nothing imminently planned that would be in place in any short term.
Excellent, thank you, I appreciate that. And again, I think there's an expectation from the public and their tax dollars, and that we are protecting the assets in which those dollars help pay for. I certainly don't think, I believe the old camera system that you referred to, we actually had cameras in public. Not necessarily the direction that I'm recommending we go, but I think if we are finding that town facilities are becoming a target, that it would likely be well within a reasonable expectation that we would look to do what we could to make sure that we were protecting those as much as possible. The last thing that I would have along that same would just be a general comment to administration. I've had several residents ask me over the last while about our Citizens on Patrol group, the Night Owls. I've tried to reach out to them. I've tried to contact them. I have received no response whatsoever from them. I've spoken with one of the corporals with the RCMP who does some of the community policing. He's very uncertain of what's going on there. It does seem like there is an appetite in the community for Citizens on Patrol. So I'm just wondering if there's maybe some digging that can be done to find out whether this group is or is not active. Maybe they could come to council and do a presentation in September if they are, so we could ask them some questions and get them some information out to the public. Or if they're not active, maybe we can see what we could do to put it out to the community that we'd be looking for some people who would be wanting and willing to maybe stand an organization up.
Ms. Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Laurie once again. The Night Owls are not functioning. We did provide them annual funding, and they declined that funding this year. So my assumption would be they're not actively operating at this point. We do have some neighborhoods that have active operations going on. We did, through the CPO group, assist Westera as an example. They do have a bit of a group through Facebook and other methods that they use in terms of community safety, and they're constantly putting stuff back out to the RCMP related to their neighborhood. So that's one I'm aware of. I live in the Brickyard. I think there's another one there too. So there are neighborhood watches going on with respect to local people that are in those neighborhoods that are keen on that particular activity. So with Janae, Corporal Janae Zandbach and his group, I do believe if someone was to come forward, they would certainly work with them on the Citizens on Patrol type agency group. There is a RCMP component because they do have that connectivity with the RCMP, so certainly it would be part of that connectivity with the RCMP to ensure that they're following what they need to follow and keeping themselves safe. But we do have some neighborhood watch type groups currently operating in Stony Plain.
Thank you very much.
Is that everything, Councillor Laurie? All right, Mayor Troy, it's your turn.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just want to mention that every Wednesday, summer sessions is happening. So far from the reports, they have been extremely well attended. So definitely kudos to our staff and also DRC Music that has been organized for us. I also have heard that the finale this year is George Canyon. We got a lot of people that are excited, so I think we'll beat the previous year's record for the finale with George Canyon. And if you're available Thursdays, our cultural campfires have started, and it's right beside us in the Chicago Park. So every Thursday, I think it's 7 or 7:30. think it was 7 to 8:30. So if you wanted to get a little bit of culture and heritage within the town of Stony Plain, I think there's a whole list of different communities that and cultures that our staff have put together. So definitely looking forward to those as well. And just a reminder that this Wednesday, July 9th, is Drive for Change, and it's geared towards men's mental health. Again, come out for a conversation with men and hear some stories, and also learn to play disc golf if you have not had the opportunity. So that'll be at the Rotary Park this Wednesday, I believe is the 9th. Okay. And also this weekend is also the Rotary, the Spruce Grove Rotary Rib Fest. So if you have the opportunity and you're around, stop by. It's great food, and you're also supporting a local organization that also supports all the community groups within us as well. And this weekend as well is also the Enoch Cree Nations competitive powwow, starting Friday evening. It is open to the public, so if any members of the public would like to stop by and take a look at it, it starts in the evening of Friday and it goes till mid-afternoon on Sunday. And members of council are also invited to participate in the grand entry each and every day as well. And before I close off, just want to thank Deputy Mayor, yourself, and Councilor Plechko, and also our town manager for attending the Calgary Stampede. We definitely had a great opportunity to network and talk to a lot of elected officials locally about some of the best practices that are out there today, but also the opportunity to talk to ministers and MLAs and even our federal counterparts there as well, those elected officials. I think every opportunity that we had, we put in a plug for our metro region, and then also put in a plug for what's happening in Stony Plain. And as mentioned by Councilor Plechko, we had the opportunity to invite quite a few of them out here. So definitely, hopefully, over the summer or the next year or so, we'll bring them out just to showcase Stony Plain. I think it's always good to be in their face, sharing our good news stories, and then asking to how we can support them into achieving their goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Choi. Appreciate you bringing up the Drive for Change for men's mental health. There, just want to mention there is a $5 registration fee, but that $5 does go towards your food voucher being hosted by the youth center. Other than that, yes, it was a privilege to be down in Calgary. Thank you for the opportunity to attend that. And just for fun, on Friday it is National 7-Eleven Day, and it will be a beautiful 24 degrees. So with that, that is all for council discussion. There is no closed, and so that brings us to the end of our agenda. And I will call the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.